Hello, everybody. It's Greg Harrelson here with Century 21, the Harrelson Group. And of course, as usual, I am with my co-host, Abe Safa, also with Century 21, the Harrelson Group. And we want to talk about what's going on, the latest news in the real estate market of the Myrtle Beach market. And Abe, today we're going to talk about a normal real estate market. It seems like we're kind of working our way back to a more normal real estate market. And, you know, the word normal is definitely subjective. Just even before we hit the record button, you and I were kind of talking about the differences in one's opinion on normal versus, maybe abnormal or not normal. But anyways, let's have a great conversation. Thank you again for being here. And I'll thank you ahead of time for the data that you're going to share with us.
Yeah, my pleasure, Greg. I always look forward to these conversations.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I do agree that normal, we probably need to put it in parentheses maybe because normal is it is very subjective, but maybe more normal than what we've had.
Maybe it's maybe normal doesn't mean like normal is, I think what you and I are thinking of as normal is kind of what we've come to be accustomed to. It's like maybe not normal if we go back 10 years, and if 5 more years, it could be totally different. But if we just look at the last couple of years and what we've gotten used to, 9, 10, 11 months ago when the interest rates started rising, it got very abnormal, right? It got totally different than what we're used to. And right now, maybe it's getting a little bit back to what we used to, be experiencing in the last year and a half. I think that's what we're talking about in terms of normal. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. Cool. Well, let's dive into data because I know that's going to fuel a lot of our conversation.
Yes, I mean, so things are stabilizing, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's the first thing that I've looked at, and when it comes to thinking about, okay, are things becoming more normal? Are they becoming boring, like just normal transactions again? So the reason I said that is because things are stabilizing.
Yeah.
When we look at the inventory, obviously we had a spike, late last year in inventory where inventory tripled in some areas, but then all of a sudden it started going back down, and now it's kind of been flat. So inventory is starting to stabilize. As a matter of fact, where right now our inventory level is back to where it was in May of last year.
May of 2022. Okay. Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
So that's low. It's still low, right? But the big thing is, for a lot of people out there that are thinking, we're about to see a market crash, a real estate crash, a big correction. It's just these numbers don't point to that, right? Because inventory wouldn't be doing what it's doing if that were to happen.
Yes.
So inventory is stabilizing. Second thing is pendings are going back up. Pendings, when you look at the pendings out there relative to what's on the market, we're back to where we were in November of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's nowhere near what it was back in the, January, February of last year. Right. It's not crazy like that, but it's kind of slowly working its way back to more, I guess, normal.
So in between now and let's just call it a year ago, we have seen between now and a year ago, we've seen it dip, but we kind of feel like it bounced off the bottom. Is that kind of what we're talking about here? It's like we've bounced off the bottom, like, because I had a seller ask me, or really they kind of told me, and then I gave them a differing opinion. They says, we're really upset that we missed the market. I know that we could have sold it for so much more last year. And the reality is like, well, they really didn't miss the market. Like the difference between what they're going to get today and what they could have got, say, a year ago is there's really not much of a difference. I think the biggest difference is it doesn't feel like you're getting as much because a year ago there might have been something selling over full price, and now you're selling it at full price, but you're selling it at the same full price that somebody else sold their property over full price. So if their property was listed for $300,000 and they sold it for $320,000, for the most part, maybe not every property in the MLS, but for the most part, that property hasn't really lost any value. It's selling relatively at the same, or maybe they're pricing at $329 and they're upset that they have to take $320. Well, remember last year is what they're comparing it to, where they listed at $300 and sold at $320. It's the same $320. It's just the way the negotiations are going. It's a little different, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's almost across the board. In many cases, that is the actual case. So I don't, when someone says they missed the market, yeah, I tend to agree with you on that one. I don't think they missed it. You missed the craziness. Yeah, you're not going to get 26 offers in the first 5 minutes,
Yeah.
but you're still getting a great price.
Yeah.
Possibly the same price you would have gotten back then.
Yeah.
So we're seeing more showings on our properties, Greg, on our listings. We're seeing more offers coming in. So things are kind of slowly just working their way back to, again, I want to use the word normal.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up a chart just to kind of show you what I'm talking about here. This is 3 different graphs here. If you look at the top one, that's mortgage rates. So that little square shows the last 2 months. And you kind of see there just hasn't been much of a fluctuation. As a matter of fact, in the last 2 to 3 months, we've only seen maybe a fluctuation of a half a point, right? That's the most stability we've had in a very long time, I think since 2021, because we've had some crazy changes. There's been days where there was a swing of a 3/4 of a point in one day, right? So for us to have that stability over the last 60 to 90 days speaks volumes, because that's what's bringing buyers back into the market. So that's the first chart to look at. The second one in the middle is the refinancing. Because some people got in at the high 6s and the low 7s. Now there's opportunities for many of them to start refinancing. So we're starting to see the refinancing coming back into life again. And then if you look at the bottom one, that's purchase applications. So that's one of the most, most leading indicators that we look at of what the market is going to look like in the next 30, 40, 45 days to 90 days, because these are people that are actually applying for mortgages right now. And you see that bottom, this little section here, which is the last few weeks, you can see how things are starting to come back to life again.
So, Abe, I don't know if you know, but the banner on the bottom.
Oh, yeah,
banner,
I'm sorry. Let me take that banner off. I meant to take that off.
Yeah. Because I'd like to, I can't really. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Okay. So such a direct correlation between that interest rate and those purchase applications. I mean, it's just so obvious, right?
100%. And here's what's even more interesting, Greg. It's not that interest rates got so low and it brought buyers back in, just for them to get stable.
Yeah.
Right. Just to have a little bit of stability in the market brought the buyers back in the game. So to me, I find that really interesting, and because we're still, as of yesterday, the national average for a 30-year mortgage is 6.21.
Yeah.
So much lower than what it was, at the peak, which was over 7. I think 7.3 was the peak. But it's working its way down. It's exciting to see buyers just get back in the game with some stability.
You know what I find interesting about buyers right now, which I find kind of exciting, is that it's the buyers that didn't buy a year and a half ago, when they lost out on a multiple offer bid last year or a year and a half ago, when they could have got an interest rate of, say, 3.5. And it's that buyer right now that's kind of on the fence, saying, you know what, I could have got 3.5% before. Now I'm going to have to get 6.2. I'm just going to wait. That buyer's still kind of like on the fence. Maybe they're starting to creep back in because they're kind of forgetting about it, but they still have some issues. But the new buyer that wasn't in the bidding wars a year and a half ago, the new buyer that's just now starting their search and thinking about buying, that new buyer coming in, this 6% interest, 6 to 7% interest is all they've known. Like it's been between 6 and 7.5 or 7.3 the entire time that they've been searching on their property. So those are the buyers that are not actually complaining about the interest rates. So when it comes back to what you said, getting back to normal, I would say that's another way that we could say it's kind of back to normal, whereas we're not hearing as many people complain about interest rates because it's becoming common. It's becoming something that they heard and are hearing so much that it's like the new normal. And I think that, so not only does that interest rate decrease help bring more buyers in, but there's just more buyers coming in that are not as sensitive about the interest rates as they were before. The sensitive buyers are the ones that had the opportunity, but they didn't buy a property when they were that low, and they can't get out of their heads that they missed the market. Right.
Yeah. I mean, the rates have been sitting at that 6 point something for a little while now, and people are getting accustomed to it. It's becoming the new normal. They might be letting go the idea that things are going to go back to 3%. Like
Yeah.
we may never see that again. I mean, who knows? So the other news to look at, like tomorrow, the Fed chairman comes out, supposed to have a 1/4 point increase in the Fed rate tomorrow. We'll see if that's what he sticks with, or if it's going to go up from there. So that'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow, and then we'll talk about that next week as well.
Yeah, well, so I think a lot of people are thinking it's going to be 1/4%.
Right.
And, and there's a possibility that the Feds could raise the Fed rate by 1/4, and we could actually see a little bit of a dip in actual mortgage interest rates. Again, I won't make the prediction. We're so close to tomorrow. We'll like you said, we'll kind of sum it up in the following week. But right now, I would say I'm extremely optimistic about the real estate market over the next 6 months, and I feel like saying for 2023. I think once I get past 6 months, I feel like it's, I'm just kind of making statements without substantiating them with data. But I would say that I'm very optimistic that we're going to have a very healthy real estate market in the next 6 months, and at least in the state of South Carolina. Do you agree with that?
I do agree. I think in our market, I think we've seen we're past the lowest point.
Mm-hmm.
I think things seem to be improving week after week, and I think we're going to continue that trend. Of course, barring something crazy happening with the economy or with mortgage rates, if we just stay on track to what's been happening, things are definitely going to get better. It's going to be a good market this year, I think.
Yeah, I know builders are selling off their inventory again. The average days on the market might not necessarily be like really decreasing right this second, because it takes time for that number to see a difference. But if we look at the new listings that come on, brand new listings that are coming on seem to be selling a little bit faster than they were just a month ago. So Abe and I are looking at all those little signs, and that's how we're basing our opinions and the statements that we make. At least that's how I'm basing my optimistic mindset about the market. So, Abe, I see that you posted our telephone numbers there. For those of you that are listening, we just want to say thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get an alert every time we do one of these. You don't miss a real estate update. If you do subscribe or leave a comment and you do get that, just understand you won't get more than one alert on a week, because we don't do that, and we're not going to spam you and whatnot. It's just make sure that you know when the next update is uploaded to YouTube. So please subscribe. That would be great for us. And if you need anything, if we can help you in any way, Abe and I would love to earn your business. Here's our telephone numbers. Feel free to reach out to us. Abe, thank you for the information.
Enjoy it, Greg. Thank you all for watching.
Bye, everybody.